back down. I'll never back down. I'll never back down. I get up when I'm bleeding, really bleeding. I'll never back down.
And we're back with another edition of Beyond the Mat podcast. And not so much of Wrestle Talk Wednesday anymore. We are full-blown Wrestlemania mode. We are talking WrestleManias 1 through 4 today. There are 10 weeks away from WrestleMania. We will be talking about 4 each week going forward. And as always, if you are interested in coming on to the show to talk about said WrestleManias, please reach out and we will get you on here.
There's that.
Now, let's jump into it. We got the old school WWF logo in the back. And that's where we're going. We're going WWF, the golden era. We are talking about WrestleManias 1, 2, 3, and 4. It won't be full dive. We're not going to do a full dive. We're going into what we liked about each and what we thought were the high spots and what we thought were the most memorable moments in each WrestleMania.
Right.
So, WrestleMania 1, New York City, Madison Square Garden. Vince running the show. And it was the biggest. It was supposed to be the biggest wrestling event in all of wrestling, right? It was supposed to be the guy. It was supposed to be the end-all, be-all of wrestling events.
Yep. That was rock and roll wrestling, correct?
Yes, that was MTV. That was
MTV, yeah.
With Cyndi Lauper and Captain Lou.
Yeah.
And all them.
And you know what? So, some of the storyline, how they built that up was pretty intense. Was pretty cool. You know, MTV was involved with that back in the day. You know, and it was just interesting. So storylines back, there was story building back then too, and it was I thought it was well done. Absolutely.
We had, the first moment that I remember, and it's stuck, is the King Kong Bundy squash match, 24 seconds. It's at that point, obviously, because it's the first WrestleMania, was the shortest match in WrestleMania history, and it stood the test of time for a long time until years and years later when I think Sheamus beat Daniel Bryan, or it was the other way around. Anyway, that was my first highlight. I thought that was a moment that again stood the test of time until many years later when we were a brogue kick and a 1, 2, 3.
Right. Well, when I was looking back when Matt brought this up to me about wanting to do WrestleManias for a week leading up to it, I was like, I remember WrestleManias because one of my biggest things about WrestleManias was I was jealous of my friends because the only people that could watch it really were the ones that had those big satellite TVs and they had free. Somehow they rigged it so they could get the shows and stuff like that, you know. And I was always jealous because one of my friends who I played tennis with and always during whatever, she was going to get it at her house and she was like bragging about it. I was like, oh man. But looking back at the card and looking back at the highlights, I do remember Andre the Giant and Big John Studd in that classic big man battle where they were who can body slam someone for that prize of $15,000 body slam challenge. And I remember that building up from a Saturday Night Main Event. You know, those are two of the biggest dudes, and to see Andre pick up Big John Studd and body slam him, that was pretty impressive. So I rewatched that today.
So we did have 1, 2, 3. We had 3 championship matches on this card. The WWF champion, the WWF Championship itself was not on the line. I think this is the first WrestleMania. It's obviously the first WrestleMania, but I think it's the only WrestleMania that didn't have one of the big titles on the line.
Right, I think so. I think you're right.
The champion was still in the main event, so it's all good. But we had King Kong Bundy was there. Tino Santana had a match. Brutus Beefcake against David Sammartino, Bruno's kid. Junkyard Dog Greg Valentine for the Intercontinental Championship. So Junkyard Dog won via countout. So he won the match, but Greg Valentine was still the champion at the end of the night. So
right, absolutely. And we talk about star-studded stuff. WrestleManias are always, Liberace's. All the stars come out.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali was at WrestleMania 1 with Mr. T, and that was cool to see Muhammad Ali as a ref in that event, in that match with Hogan and Mr. T versus Piper and
Orndorff.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And it just set up didn't that set up something for WrestleMania 2, if I'm correct? Or so WrestleMania down the road? I can't remember.
WrestleMania 2 ended up being Piper versus Mr. T in a boxing match. And we'll talk about that coming up too. But like you said, it was star-studded. You had Wendy Richter against Leilani Kai.
Yep.
And with it was I want to say, was that when Cyndi Lauper came out with Wendy Richter in that one.
Yeah, yep.
And that was the first of many big names that would grace the presence of the WWE universe. The Iron Sheik was part of the boos that they got, him and Volkov. That's the one thing that about the 80s wrestling, that it was like the foreigners were always the heels. If you wanted to be a heel, just give yourself a Russian accent and like say I hate America or something like that, and you were an instant heel, right? Like that's how it worked in the 80s. But WrestleMania 1 was 9 matches long. That's crazy to think that was 9 matches long, and it went. It didn't tell me how long it was. It was I think a 2.5 hour long pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It was kind of, because the longest match on the card was 13 minutes and 34 seconds, and that was that tag match at the end. Now you're seeing guys go 30 to 40 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And we're getting 4 hour long pay-per-views.
Right. See, I don't know. I don't know, what I'm saying? I don't know why, they did that many matches in 2 hours, and we're doing that many matches in 4 now. Or 4 matches lasting Royal Rumble in 4 hours. And it's just like, I know the Rumble's different because there's all the, 30 men and women, but it's interesting to see what they did in 2 hours compared to what we do in 4 hours now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But before we move on to WrestleMania 2, our boy, one of the best backstage on the mic interviewers, was Mean Gene Okerlund. I loved watching him all the way through, and he some of the stuff I was watching today on and rewind. It's hilarious to see what they're doing, backstage and his interactions and stuff like that.
Well, what about Lord Alfred Hayes?
Yes, yes.
Lord Alfred Hayes. And then you had Gorilla Monsoon.
And Jesse the Body outside the ring with interviews
Yeah.
outside the ring. I mean, that's old
Yeah.
school. That's old school stuff.
So the main event was Hogan, Mr. T versus Orndorff Piper. Again, we talked ever since we started Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Ever since the genesis of our company, I have talked and preached and just absolutely harped on long-term storytelling. This right here is why, because they did a damn good job. Now, you look back at Hogan or Mr. T being there, he was the first celebrity to step foot inside of the WWE arena. Well, Piper hated him.
Yep.
And that's a shoot. That's not a work. Piper absolutely couldn't stand Mr. T because he felt he was disrespecting their business. That an actor thought he could come in and just step between those ropes and be one of them.
Right.
So Piper hated him. But that was kind of, that's pretty much all we had for WrestleMania 1. For that time period, I'm sure it was an absolute spectacle. That was in 85. It was on March 31st in 1985. So I was legit like 4.5 years old. So I had to go back and rent it on VHS to like when I was growing up to really like understand what was going on.
Right.
But yeah, it was definitely a spectacle for sure. And that actually set up for the next pay-per-view would have been the Wrestling Classic. And that I think had a lot. It set up for it to almost snowball into what it is. It just kept gaining momentum. And then WrestleMania 2 came.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 2 emanated from 3 different locations. 3 different locations. Yeah, New York, Rosemont, Illinois, Chicago, and Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
First time and last time that it was.
And I hope it never happens again, because I remember being like, I don't like it when, like you're watching the New Year's Eve ball drop, you're watching them or in New York, then they switch to Tennessee, then they switch to somewhere else. I'm not a fan of the switching of venues. It seems like it gives it a feel of it's a tape show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was, there were some highlights, it wasn't the first steel cage match in WrestleMania history. And by the way, if that cage, man, if that looks nothing like what we are now, that's how much we have evolved.
But the thing is, I missed the big blue cage.
Yes.
I would love for them to bring back the blue cage. Not full time, but I would love to see that happen. That just brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
You had Randy Savage against George the Animal Steel in a Intercontinental Championship match. That was
one of my favorite wrestlers back in the day, George.
The Animal Steel.
Yeah. He was a teacher, by the way.
Yeah, he was a teacher in like Detroit area, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
He actually he graduated from Michigan State and Central Michigan University.
Really?
Yeah.
Good facts. So now that WrestleMania wasn't that WrestleMania the one that had the football players and the wrestlers in the Battle Royal or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the one in New York City, I believe.
Okay.
Or was that? Let me double check this.
So see, WWE has they have had celebrity. Sorry, guys.
Yes.
They back even at WrestleMania 1, they were having celebrities. So this is nothing new, guys. You know, we harp about Logan Paul and how whatever, and all these celebrities. It's happened for years. I mean, Vince was that's what I think Vince made WrestleMania around. What celebrity could show up?
So we had Jake the Snake. Well, he was referred to as Jake Roberts. He made his WrestleMania debut at 2. Mr. T in a boxing match. It was first ever boxing match.
Yeah.
At WrestleMania, it was T versus Piper. And that match was fun because Piper got so angry with T that he took his little wooden stool and he chucked it across the ring at him.
WWE's what? Even went to Sesame Street. Oh, even went to Sesame Street. Okay. I did not know that.
So we had a lot of, I mean, the first was from Nassau Coliseum in New York. And that was, it had big names. That's the thing that kind of worried me. Like, that would have worried me. What am I saying? It worried me when I was 5 years old. I'm like, oh, well, this is stupid. But no, like, looking back, that would worry me as a fan. Is how are they going to, like, are the shows in different areas? Like, if I'm paying a ticket to go see WrestleMania at Nassau Coliseum, I better see someone big. Like, I don't want to be watching in New York City and then turn and like leave the arena and catch the last half of the WrestleMania at home or whatever and see bigger stars than I had. I mean, that would be kind of crappy. But first one had Paul Orndorff versus Morocco, the Magnificent Morocco. You had Savage versus Steel, Jake versus Dave Wells, and Mr. T and Piper. That was a New York moment. That was a New York pay-per-view. And 4 matches at each site. So a total of 12. We're getting up there.
Yeah.
Rosemont Horizon, Chicago, Illinois. What was your thing that you saw in that one that you're like, yes?
What matches were there, Matt? There?
That was Moolah versus Velvet McIntyre, Corporal Kirchner versus Nikolai Volkov, Andre the Giant. That was a WWF versus NFL Battle Royal, and then there was the Bulldogs versus the Dream Team with Brutus and Valentine.
I guess that was a fun tag team match to watch. Bruce Barber, Beefcake, and Valentine against the Bulldogs. Now, I believe didn't Brutus and Valentine win?
They lost.
They lost. Okay. But that was one of the fun ones. But I really enjoyed it. I can remember watching the highlights. Of course, again, we had to watch VHS tapes, or we had to catch reviews on something WWF. I can't remember what it was.
It was WWF Superstars, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Or the Wrestling Challenge or whatever.
Something like that. Yeah. And I was really intrigued because, back in the day when I was probably 15, 16 years old, you watch football, and that much testosterone in a ring, that ring would look like it was going to fall over. But yeah, that was fun to watch. I mean, that was just amazing to see those wrestlers. And again, of course, that came down to the final 4 people were wrestlers. Obviously, everybody knew that no NFL guy was going to win it.
Let's see here: Jimbo Covert, Pedro Morales, Tony Atlas, Ted Arcidi, Harvey Martin, Danny Spivey, Hillbilly Jim, King Tonga, the Iron Sheik, Ernie Holmes, B. Brian Blair, Jim Brunzell, Big John Studd, Bill Fralick, Jim Neidhart, Russ Francis, Bruno Sammartino, and William the Refrigerator Perry were all part of that. And that, of course, was won by Andre the Giant. And for all you guys that watch it now, obviously that's why they call like the one that they hold WrestleMania weekend. That's why they call it the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, because he won the very first one.
Yep.
By eliminating Bret Hart. And we talk of celebrities. We had a celebrity in the first one, right, with Mr. T. We got a celebrity in the second one. We have Ozzy Osbourne coming out with the British Bulldogs.
Yep. Yes, that was fun. He looked good back then, too.
Oh, yeah. He actually... That was before his Sharon!
Sad. Elvira was there in that WrestleMania 2. I don't know where she was, what venue, but I remember Joan Rivers was there too. I remember that.
That was at Rosemont. That was the second one was at the Rosemont Horizon.
Yeah.
So it was a decent set. It was a decent setup. Again. Oh, then Nikolai Volkov as Classy Freddie Blassie.
Yes. Man.
Class. You
that
pencil neck geek.
Yeah, with that cane of his and his little shiny sequin shirts and stuff. I mean, I can remember those. Those are just, man. He was good for sure.
And again, 4 matches. 4 matches, and the longest one was 13 minutes long in that segment, or in that 4. Now we head to Los Angeles, California at the Memorial Sports Arena. Steamboat Hercules Hernandez, Adrian Adonis with Jimmy Hart versus Uncle Elmer. Terry and Haas Funk against Santana and Junkyard Dog, and then Hogan Bundy steel cage match with Bobby Heenan, the Weasel, in his corner.
Well, everybody remembers Hogan. That was the big match everybody remembers, first cage match and stuff. But man, there was one match you just named, like the second match you named,
Adonis Elmer.
Yes, Adonis. I don't remember the match, but I can just tell you my experience as growing up as a kid. Adrian Adonis, that was a freak show. I mean,
now, if you get a chance, and this is a shout out to those people over there at Dark Side of the Ring. If you get a chance, watch the Adrian Adonis episode of the Dark Side of the Ring. Because of that dude, he was a hell of a wrestler. He was a hell of a wrestler. He was an amazing, tremendous wrestler. They slapped that adorable Adrian Adonis gimmick on him, and things just kind of like fell apart for him. But way to go, Vince! Way to ruin another career.
That's right. Perfect.
Terry Funk, the Funks were in that. Were in LA at the Memorial Sports Arena. Santana. That you look at the names, you just read down the names there of who was part of the LA one, and it's like, holy crap!
Yeah.
Like, this is massive.
Yeah, Funks. Anytime they're in the building, it's massive. It's just
Hogan. Let's talk a little bit about. This is the first time at WrestleMania that the championship's on the line and in a steel cage, and you get Hogan. If I remember right, had his ribs all bandaged up.
Yep.
Because on a Saturday night's main event, he took like 4 or 5, maybe up to 8 or 9
splash
avalanches.
Yes.
Is what they were called, by Bundy in the corner. Like, about a week before, and he just wasn't. But he still slammed him in the middle of that ring, if I remember right.
Yep, slammed him, did his posing. Didn't he climb over the cage? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he climbed over. Because there was no pinning him in a cage match at that point.
Right.
So, I guess it was, and it was also the first WrestleMania was available only on pay-per-view basis in select areas.
Okay.
It wasn't a national deal quite yet. It was still, I think it was regional at that point for, like, you could buy into the Chicago WrestleMania and that kind of stuff. WrestleMania. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to do this. WrestleMania 1's attendance at Madison Square Garden. This is crazy to think about this. It was only 19,121 people.
Really?
Only 19,000 people were there.
Wow. Holy cow. Yeah,
Yeah.
You thought that. Wow.
WrestleMania 2 combined through the 3 areas was 40,085.
Okay.
Through 3 different arenas. There are 40,085. Right. That's pretty good numbers. Yeah. You're averaging 10, still averaging about 13, or not 13. Yeah. Averaging about 13,000 per area.
Yeah, that's pretty decent.
The tagline for it was the premier sporting event of the year, what the world has come to.
There you go.
So now we go to WrestleMania 3. A lot of people say this is one of the top 5 WrestleManias of all time. It's hard to beat this card. Live, it emanated from Pontiac, Michigan at the Silverdome, the former home of the Detroit Lions. Bigger, better, badder was the tagline. And we had 78,000 strong.
Really?
In that building. On March 29th of 1987. Again, the spectacle of that. You go back and you look at some of the pictures of that arena. It was nuts. Again, Gorilla Monsoon on commentary with Jesse Ventura was just insane. It was the first time we had I don't want to say midgets, but it's the first time we had little people wrestling at WrestleMania.
Really? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it was Hillbilly Jim, Haiti Kid, Little Beaver versus Bundy, Little Tokyo, and Lord Littlebrook.
Yes, that's right. I remember that. Okay.
6-man tag. Harley Race was there. That was the Kiss My Foot. I think it was Loser Must Bow match. That's what it was. It was a Loser Must Bow match. It was Bobby Heenan versus Junkyard Dog.
Okay. Loser Kiss My Foot.
The Dream Team with Greg Valentine, Beefcake against the Rougeau brothers and the Dream Team had Luscious Johnny Valiant as their manager.
All right.
With Dino Bravo also in their corner.
Now, wasn't this the match that they led up to the main event with Hogan and Andre, where Piper's Pit had Andre rip their cross off, and we had that for how many, about 3-4 weeks of that kind of story building up to this, or longer, for that main event.
Yeah,
that was probably one of my favorite, most memorable Piper's Pit. If I had to look back.
That actually, once we're done with the WrestleMania stuff, something that we might venture into, ladies and gentlemen, is like classic moments. Like we might take a look at Piper's Pit itself, like who he had on there. Maybe we'll show some clips in a later episode. But that's what we're going to be doing here on this show. It's kind of a rewind of what we thought and what we saw as like back then. Piper versus Adrian Adonis, a hair versus hair match.
Yes.
The first time in WrestleMania history we had a hair versus hair match.
Of course, Adrian Adonis got his head shaved.
Oh, yeah. And I want to say Jimmy Hart was involved in that one, too. Jimmy Hart was Adrian Adonis' adorable Adrian Adonis.
Yes. I liked, because, you have the match with Ricky Steamboat and Savage for the Intercontinental Champion. Those are two high flyers. I enjoyed watching Ricky Steamboat back in the day. Randy Savage, too, with an elbow off the top, Fun match to watch, because, again, got a lot of high spots even back at WrestleMania 3. Very entertaining.
Ooh, yeah, dig it.
Yep. And okay, so we're talking about WrestleMania, but dig it, Slim Jim. I thought there was rumors that Slim Jim was going to pull out of Royal Rumble, and then but Slim Jim was all over it. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay, maybe that didn't happen.
Well, things change.
Yes.
Things change.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Steamboat Savage. That went 14 and a half minutes.
Okay.
And a lot of people consider that one the greatest WrestleMania match of all time.
Really?
There's a lot of people who say that that's one of the greatest top 5 WrestleMania matches of all time.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Again, and the match right after that one, with Steamboat winning the IC Championship, and by the way, he's one of the greatest never to win the big one. I feel Steamboat. Mm-hmm. But you follow that one up with Honky Tonk Man, with Jimmy Hart defeating Jake Roberts with Alice Cooper in his corner. Another moment where you had a celebrity at WrestleMania in someone's corner. Alice Cooper was in, and of course Alice Cooper being there because he's a Detroit native. So,
Honky Tonk Man won that one.
Yep.
I got to see it. We got to see his little
shake, rattle, and roll.
Yes.
We had of course the main event. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, the Slam World heard around the world. The irresistible force meets the immovable object. One of the most iconic lines in WrestleMania history.
Yep. I was talking about this last night. I think it was when Hogan and Andre the Giant came face to face. I can't remember if it was on the men's Royal Rumble or the women's Royal Rumble. I would say Rhea Ripley and the lady from TNA.
Oh no, that was Nia Jackson.
Yeah, when those guys came face to face, I was like, "Oh shit, that's like Andre. It's like Hogan, Andre." I think something like that happened in men's Royal Rumble too. I couldn't remember.
Well, they had the one in the women's was Cargill and Nia.
Yes, Cargill and Nia. You had Cargill. Everyone's like, "Yeah, she's here," and Nia's like, "Look," and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's like a picture out of Hogan Andre."
And then the one in the men's was Breaker Omos.
Yeah.
It's either Breaker Omos or Breaker and the other big guy there.
Right. Bronson Reed.
No.
But the one I'm talking about was the Cargill Nia Jax. I was like, that is a perfect picture of the Hogan Andre stare down.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I
guess I say that because I love how current stuff goes back and they repeat. It seems like the old stuff, and it's pretty cool to see that in the modern day stuff.
Bobby Heenan, of course, was there at ringside with Andre. This was peak heel Andre. Yeah. Because he used to be a face. Like he was him and Hogan were like best friends. Let's see what other things on this. I'm just scrolling through. Of
course, Aretha Franklin was there, obviously, from Detroit as well.
Yeah, she sang the national anthem. But WrestleMania's it was the first. That was the first arena, like big, like it was the first stadium. That it wasn't. It was. You're not talking arenas anymore. That was the first stadium that they sold out. 78,000 people, and I know I said that a few minutes ago, but 78,000. That's a lot of freaking people, especially for that time period.
Right.
100%. And that led into, and this is kind of a fun thing to do, fun thing to talk about too, is that led into the first Survivor Series. Like, yeah, that in March, and then, because that was March of '87, and the first Survivor Series was in November of '87.
Right.
And that was just, I mean, for what they did at WrestleMania 3, that took the bar was here. They took it from here and moved it to here.
Right.
We talk about needle moving. Roman's a needle mover, right? This was also at the height of Hogan's title run.
Right. Yeah.
Because he had it during WrestleMania 1, he had it for WrestleMania 2, and here he is with it at 3, and he retains. So long-term storytelling, because you had Andre waiting, he said this in that Piper's Pit. I never asked for a title match, and you never gave me one, Hogan, and all this and that. Well, I'm here, and I wanted my title shot, and he rips the cross, and the blood coming out of his chest because I don't know if that was a shooter, if that was a work, or whatever. And then Piper standing there like, oh my God, what's going on? And like, Jesse Ventura, I think, was in Andre, like part of Andre's entourage too at that point.
Yeah, he was.
But that was WrestleMania 3. Of course, the slam happened. Like, we're not going to bore you guys with all the, like, synopsis of the matches. Just what we saw and what we thought was cool.
And back then they had only 4 pay-per-views, correct?
Well, at this point, like I said,
this is the
Survivor Series. The first Survivor Series came in November after this, so we went from WrestleMania, didn't do anything all summer. Yeah, they did all their house shows. There's no TVs or anything, and then they go and do Survivor Series in November.
Right. So as a fan, it was hard to be a fan unless you watched DVDs or you watched got to go to house show that was in your area or whatever, And I think that's what kept storylines going good. You had to wait. You know, you don't get a chance to go on the computer and say, "Hey, what's going on?" You know, and so
Well, that's and I've been saying this a lot lately is that the dirt sheets and the internet and all this stuff has ruined what wrestling was all about. It's entertainment. You can't jump on your phone and scroll through Facebook if you're a wrestling fan and not see someone posting something about, well, so and so said this and Sean Ross Sapp said this and Dave Meltzer said this and yada yada yada.
right,
You can't, I mean, and honestly, why do we even care anymore about what these other people say? How about you don't worry about what they have to say
right,
and you watch the product and just enjoy it.
right.
Take take yourself and you know who, okay, and I'm calling everyone out on this right now. And including myself, because I read the dirt sheets too. I need to stop. You know who the true wrestling fans are? The the people who really are wrestling fans, the kids.
Yes.
They are the ones that have like they're the ones that aren't watching the dirt sheets and aren't going on Twitter and aren't going on all this and saying, well, Uncle Dave said this and yada yada yada. I'm a tool bag because I think the internet is 100% accurate all the time. No.
Yep.
Watch it because it's fun. Watch it
Right.
because you like it. Don't watch it. You know,
We watch it. Yes. You know, we talked about this. Matt and I talked about this. I talked about a lot of people. There's so many people that want to watch this brand and then compare it to this brand and bitch about this and bitch about that. Well, then stop. Just watch the shit to watch the stuff.
if you don't like WWE,
Don't watch it.
don't watch it. If you don't like AEW, don't watch it.
Right.
Because if
some
it
of us
upsets
like
you that much, if it ups okay, think about this. I understand, okay, being passionate about it's one thing, that's cool.
Right.
Be passionate about it. But if it legit makes you upset to your stomach that Cody Rhodes won the Royal Rumble,
Right.
maybe, just maybe you should reevaluate your life.
You might want to.
I mean, come on. Guess what?
And as a
It's
fan,
fucking scripted.
yes, and as a fan, I mean, I would say that that is a good point because as a dad growing up with two kids in the house, you know, playing video games, and even Matt and I used to get some hell of video game wars where I used to get so pissed off that he would beat me in this Blades of Steel or this football game, you know, and then our kids do this. And my thing is, if that makes you that angry, maybe you ought not to do it, right? So if wrestling shows make you that pissed off, shut up and don't watch the stuff. There's no point to it. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really freaking matter. It's scripted. It's this. So is a soap opera. So is a movie. So is whatever. You don't go getting upset about because James Bond drove a white car this time and not a black one. I mean, give me a break.
Now my question is, like,
Damn.
was everyone like that? Was everyone this pissed off? Like all of us. Were we this pissed off when Thanos went like this and everything went fucking go? Probably not. Because guess what? It didn't hurt you. It didn't hurt me. It didn't hurt this guy sitting next to me. Guess what?
I mean,
it's scripted, people. It's a story.
I mean, you know, I don't know.
And by no means am I sitting here the whole wrestling's fake. No, that's not what this little rant is about. It's about me saying that we need to enjoy it for what it is, and that is an art form. We need to enjoy it and not be fucking so critical about it.
Exactly.
Because, newsflash, you don't own the WWE. Newsflash, you don't own AEW, TNA, New Japan. You don't. You're a fan for a reason. But let's be fans.
Yep. Put me in a mark.
Let's not get on this whole pissiness. End of rant.
Done.
WrestleMania 4 emanated from Trump Plaza. What a hell of a segue I have.
Right.
We had the tournament. The tournament
Yeah.
for the vacated championship. Because Andre won the championship and immediately handed it to $1 Million Man.
Everybody has a price.
So, the tagline, there was 19,199 people at Trump Plaza. What the world is watching.
Yeah.
So we had Bad News Brown won the Battle Royal. That was,
yep.
and then by tossing Bret Hart over. Bret Hart took 2 L's and back-to-back in the first 2 Battle Royals that we had at WrestleMania. The first round, the tournament progressed. We saw Duggan versus DiBiase, Don Morocco against Dino Bravo, Greg Valentine, Ricky Steamboat, Savage and Butch Reed, One Man Gang. That's a big dude too. One Man Gang, Bam Bam Bigelow, Jake Roberts versus Rick Rude. That ended up in a time limit draw.
Yeah, Rick Rude one.
No, it was time limit draw. Neither of them advanced.
Gotcha.
Then Hogan, Andre is double DQ.
That's right. Yep, that is right. That's where the Mega Powers. Didn't the Mega Powers show up on that one?
Yes, at the end. So pretty much the whole Mania was the tournament with a couple other. Yeah, Savage versus Ted DiBiase with the Giant in his corner. Mrs. Elizabeth was in Randy's corner. And, of course, Hogan had to come out and save the day because, Hogan must pose, right?
Right.
So, and before we get into the final, one of my all-time favorite tag teams won their first tag team championship by beating Strikeforce, Demolition. Smash.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So, but Savage, Ted DiBiase, and that's when, and of course Hogan helped Savage win, and that's when the Mega Powers formed.
Okay. A couple of years down the road, that's when they exploded, right?
Well, that was the very next year, and we'll get into that next week.
Okay.
We'll talk more on WrestleMania 5, 6, 7, and 8 next Wednesday.
Savage ended up winning that match via Hogan's help. But that was pretty cool because Hogan. Everybody hates on Hogan, but I think Hogan did the right thing. Because Savage, there was a disadvantage, with $1 Million Man being out there and stuff like that. Virgil in that white suit with that red cummerbund with his no sleeves on it, prancing around. Come on now, come on.
And of course Andre came down with DiBiase.
Is that the match? Is that the WrestleMania or is it Mania 2 or 3? That maybe it was 3 where Hogan and Andre came down in that little thing that was Or am I getting ahead of myself?
Okay, are you talking like they walk down? They walk like down from a big area, like almost like a ramp, or are you talking about they were in little rings?
Little rings where they were being.
That was WrestleMania 3.
Okay, yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. Where they drove, they were on standing on top of, I don't know what they were on top of, but the thing moved them down, and that was pretty cool.
So really, at the end of this,
that, I don't know.
At the end of this, we saw the first time that someone that wasn't Hogan-esque, wasn't a big dude, held the title. And that was really kind of interesting as well to see a smaller stature guy like Macho win it. But he had the biggest personality in that generation. Like I think him and Hogan were the two biggest like personalities, like biggest characters.
Absolutely. So how long was that run for Hogan from WrestleMania 1 to WrestleMania 4? Or whenever he lost the belt to Andre.
That's a good question. I need to look that up. And I should know this. Cody, if you're listening, throw in the comments so I can.
Because that's not the record that Roman Reigns is trying to beat, is it?
Hold on.
I don't know. So I don't mean to call you out on carpet, but I don't know that question.
I should know this because I talk ad nauseum about it. God damn it! It's kind of embarrassing right now. So,
sorry. I don't claim to be historian. I claim just to be.
Let's see. Title history. The Hogan one was from 84 to 88, so it was 4 years. It was January 23rd when Hogan won it against the Iron Sheik, right?
Okay.
At Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And he lost it on February 5th of 88. So it was a full 4 years at main event 1. It was WrestleMania. It was Saturday night's main event, the first one ever at Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
And then it was vacant until March of 88. So it was vacant for a month, a little over a month, I should say.
Okay.
And then so yeah, that was Hogan's big run. That was his 4-year deal.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So
sure.
we're vastly approaching Roman, or could potentially be surpassing that as well.
Right.
But that wraps up our week for WrestleMania 1 through 4. We will be doing 5, 6, 7, and 8 next week.
You're gonna close so I got somebody knocking on my door.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Hope to see you guys next week. Hope to see you guys on Friday, where we will be talking football, basketball, baseball, hockey, everything under the sun of sports. Appreciate you all. Much love to you all. And, leave in the comment section what your favorite WrestleMania 1 through 4 matches were. And we'll see you next time.
I'll never back down.